Jamin AI. Jamin AI.
All right, so today we're diving into some pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But maybe not in the way you'd think. You know, we always get questions about the pro-life perspective. And I think people are, they want to get past the talking points.
Totally.
Past the slogans, the whole shebang.
Absolutely.
They want to really, understand it.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're trying to do today.
Yeah.
So we're going deep on this one with a blog post by Jamin Bradley.
Okay.
And he considers himself pro-life, but he's calling for a different kind of pro-life ethic. One that he feels aligns more closely with his faith.
So almost like he's calling for change from within the movement itself.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, that's really interesting. So how does he shake things up?
Well, he starts off by saying, look, the sanctity of life is paramount.
Okay.
That's a given. But he argues that the typical focus on just legislation misses this huge part of the equation, and that is caring for those who are already here.
Oh, interesting. So he's making a connection between abortion and wider social justice issues then.
Yes, exactly. He's saying that you can't just be pro-life, you also have to be pro-supporting the marginalized,
right,
the poor immigrants, prisoners,
He's saying it's all connected.
It's all connected. You can't separate them. He actually says that a lot of policies kind of force him to choose between one or the other, and he doesn't think that's right.
Yeah. That's got to be a tough place to be.
Yeah.
Feeling like maybe your own side isn't really living up to its own name.
Yeah.
So what else does he say about abortion itself?
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
So buckle up, because Bradley actually argues that there are situations where choosing abortion could be considered the most pro-life decision.
Whoa, really? How so?
So he lays out this really powerful but tough scenario where a mother is facing a life-threatening pregnancy, and he's basically saying that in those tragic situations, choosing abortion, as difficult as it is, could be seen as an act of preserving life. Right. He even points out that making abortion illegal in those situations could end up even if unintentionally promoting death instead of life.
It's like he's saying it's not as black and white as people make it out to be.
It's way more nuanced.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in absolutes.
Totally.
On both sides, really.
Yeah.
Does Bradley ever address the emotional aspect of this debate at all? You see people calling people baby murderers and things like that.
He does, and he actually pushes back on that kind of language pretty strongly. He says, while he personally believes that a fetus is a person, he also acknowledges that most pro-choice individuals don't share that view. And he reminds us that judging people's actions without understanding their beliefs or their context, well, that's not something even God does.
Right. So he's really emphasizing the need for compassion and understanding.
Yes.
In all this.
Okay.
So if not just legislation, then what does Bradley ultimately propose as a better way forward?
This is where those statistics come in that you were talking about. Bradley highlights that only 4% of abortions happen because people simply don't want kids.
Wow.
He says that the vast majority stem from things like poverty, lack of support, not being able to afford health care, relationship issues, difficult situations.
So these decisions are often rooted in much bigger systemic problems.
Exactly. And he says because of that, to really reduce the number of abortions, we need to address those root causes head on. It all comes back to his core belief that caring for the image of God and the people around us in tangible ways will lead to a greater love for the unborn as well.
So it's a much more holistic approach.
Yeah.
Looking at the bigger picture rather than just focusing on this one piece.
Exactly.
It seems like Bradley's really challenging us to rethink the meaning of pro-life.
He's saying it's not just about laws. It's about creating a society where both mothers and children are truly supported and valued.
He's definitely given me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
So for our listeners out there, what would you say is the one thing you hope they take away from Bradley's perspective?
I think the biggest takeaway is the question he leaves us with. Can we, as individuals and as a society, hold both the sanctity of life, A and D, the very real, very complex realities faced by those who are considering abortion?
Right.
And if so, how do we create a world where those two values can coexist?
That's something worth pondering, for sure. Well said.
Thanks.
Our listeners, we'll leave you with that.